with my buddy Aaron Quesada. And right now we are live on Facebook and on YouTube with Driving Line. I'm very excited to get this opportunity to chat. For myself, we've been in lockdown for the last couple of weeks, so I got a lot of stuff going on. And Aaron, who also has been on lockdown as well, we're excited to be here.
What up?
So
We're live. This is it.
This is it. So so I'm Casey Currie. I'm a professional off-road racer. We just got home in January from our first big win in 2020. And for myself, one of my biggest accomplishments of my career, winning the 2020 Dakar in the side-by-side category and making it the first American category winner on four wheels. So Ricky Brabeck won it this year as well. So we are the first Americans to ever win it. So very blessed for the opportunity to get to race in Dakar. And I got that out of the way.
So you've obviously won championships, won races, won the Baja 1000. How does the Dakar championship, like, how do you feel about that one? Like, it's never been won by an American. So you and Ricky obviously were the first two to do it, but as far as like winning all these other prestigious races, how does Dakar feel getting that one under your belt?
I would say, honestly, it's like, to me, it's way bigger than anything else I've ever done. I've won the Ball 1000 3 times. I've won the 500. I've won the Mint. I've won Crandon and short course. I've won the King of Portugal in my race program for the last 10 years. In the last 6 months, or actually it's been about a year now, I've actually started working with my dad and my uncle, trying to take over Currie Enterprises alongside my racing career, which to me ties in perfectly. We obviously do a lot of Jeep stuff. I love driving Jeeps, so we do a lot of focus on that.
How do you balance that with, kind of you're basically are taking over and running Currie for your dad, right?
Yeah.
Like, so how do you balance that between your whole race program and everything you got from the racing standpoint? Now you're basically CEO of a company and running a business on a daily.
For me, I'm very blessed. We have a great group of people here at Currie Enterprises, and I have a great group of guys at Casey Currie Motorsports. So right now, Paul Michelle is prepping and maintaining my trophy Jeep, and the Camaro, all the Jeeps and Can-Ams are prepped over at Casey Currie Motorsports, which is actually in the process of being moved into a building that's twice as big, because not only are we growing Currie Enterprises, but my race program is growing as well. So one of these live tours, I actually want to do a tour of the race shop. I think everyone will dig the new race shop with all that we have going on. We're growing, and we have a lot of cool stuff happening. 2020 has been rough. Obviously, coronavirus has, been a struggle for everybody. But I have the outlook for myself that we're all, if the world's going to crash, we're all going to crash. But if it's not, I'm not going to sit here and dwell on anything, but we're going to hammer down and do everything we can to come out of this the best we can. So prep on everything. We're doing everything we can on the chase trucks, on the race truck, all the Jeeps. We're doing everything we can to better everything there. And here at Currie Enterprises, we're taking this time to fine-tune everything. I know that we have flaws everywhere, and I think everybody does. And, my thing is to take this time to focus on those flaws and try to fix what we can and better ourselves. So in the future, when things get back to normal, we can do a better job with everything. I think that these times is when you're going to figure out who are the good guys on the team and who are the weak guys on the team. I think that this is when you're going to find out who are good people to be around. And for myself, I'm a true believer that it takes a team. For me, when I say a team, it doesn't matter if it's Currie Enterprises, my team of guys at Casey Currie Motorsports, and the partners that I have around me. I think it's very important that it's not just, for myself, it's not just about sticker on the side of any of my cars. I truly feel that every person at every brand that I deal with is some sort of friend. I have a relationship with everybody as far as knowing the needs of what everybody wants at the company, and I feel that I try to do my best to do a good job giving the feedback that we want and getting feedback from them to get better at what they want. So I think right now we're just going to keep hammering down and keep the focus on let's get through this. And when we get through it, let's have a positive outtake on it.
How do you break up your day? Like, do you separate your time on when you work on stuff at Currie versus the race program and the events, or is it just as things come up, you're just putting out fires as they come?
And that's one thing I'm trying not to do anymore is put out fires. The goal is we're past that time. So basically, how I'm right now with coronavirus going on, I'm working a lot more at Currie. My race program is pretty much dialed in right now. The race Jeep, I lost the motor at King of the Hammers, so I'm, I think, 2 weeks away from getting the motor back in it, and then we'll start testing, getting ready. So I got new Fox shocks for the Hammers that made a huge difference on my whole program. I think the shocks are insane. Obviously, you rode in the car with me. The suspension on that thing is so good. So I want to get some more testing in. So we're about 2 weeks away from getting the motor back in that. But right now, I'm spending a lot of my time here at Currie Enterprises. Obviously, we can't go to events. There's no traveling going on. There's nothing taking my time away. So my goal is right now in the time during the coronavirus and lockdown is to first spend the most time I can with my family, being home every single night and every single weekend, which is it's a blessing. It's the most I've ever been home since I've been a professional athlete in 10 years. So I'm taking the time to really enjoy it with my boys because I know that when the world turns back on, we're going to be fifth gear pinned. But at the same time, so I'm spending 8 hours a day at Currie Enterprises. And then what I do is I try to work on Casey Currie Motorsports for 2 hours in the afternoon. And then at nighttime, I do all my focus and emails and everything else. So I try to work at night from about 9 to 11 on my computer, just coming up with concepts and ideas, things that we want to focus on the media side, on the racing side. And it's difficult right now. We don't have a definite of what's next for Casey, we're going to go to this event, and this event. My goal for 2020 was go to Dakar, come home, go to King of the Hammers, come home, go to the Mint, come home from the Mint, go to the Sonora Rally, get home from the Sonora Rally, we're going to do the Baja 500, and then we're going to go do Crandon, we're going to go do Morocco, and then get ready. And then basically in the year, not racing the Baja 1000, but getting ready for Dakar, trying to figure out my schedule a little bit better. I feel like I was a little rushed into Dakar just with 1,000. And this year with it being a peninsula run, I was just going to give myself more time. So now we're going to take that back. Right now, I've never done Vegas to Reno. It's here in the States. It's a best in the desert race. I'm thinking about bringing the trophy Jeep out and going up there and racing. I think it'll be a fun race. I've ridden passenger in a Class 1 buggy 15 years ago for a friend up there, and I honestly don't remember much, but I know that it's fun. My buddy Aaron that used to ride with me works for Menzies now. He's like, dude, it's a fun race. You'll have a super good time on the trophy Jeep. So I'm like, okay, I think we should do that one. So if I went, obviously the goal is to race that. And then I'm looking at, the Baja 500 potentially, but honestly, I don't know what's going on with being able to go down to Mexico at this time. So we'll play that by ear. Fall Crandon, going back to Crandon, if that's going to be allowed. Right now they're saying yes, but depending on if it opens back up or not, I'd like to go to Crandon. Won there last year in the trophy Jeep, so I'd like to do that again. And then I looking at maybe doing the Nora 1000. They changed the dates on it. It went from in the middle of June to now October. And then this year, they just changed it again in the last 2 weeks. So now the Baja 1000 is no longer a peninsula run. Now it's a loop race. And I don't know if I'm going to race it just because I still need to prepare for Dakar, planning that Dakar happens. So our plan is to probably go down there. And I've never actually done in the past 5 years just because I've been racing it. I'd like to go down and just drive Can-Ams. I'd like to drive Jeeps. Pre-run the course, check it out, stay at some cool hotels, and actually just enjoy Baja. I feel that as going down pre-running, it's a lot of work, man. There's taking notes, taking it serious, driving all day, like most of the time getting in at night. I feel that for myself, I feel that it would be fun to actually get to see it and enjoy the journey of Baja, and I think that there's a lot of people out there that need to know that anybody can go down to Baja, with the not coronavirus. everyone can pre-run, everyone can go see the course, everyone can check it out. And like, I feel that the way we're going to get the racing organization bigger is going to be, you know, having more people come and see the journey. It's amazing down there. The scenery is absolutely, you know, beautiful. The coast sections are unbelievable. And then, you know, some of those areas that are gnarly, like Simpsons, where, you know, we were there at 2:00 in the morning and it's dark and scary. But I mean, Mike's Sky Ranch, some of those places, like, you just wouldn't really go without racing, and to see it and see how technical it is. But at the same time, look at a Google map and you're like, man, we are so far away from anything. And the elevation gets to play factor, where the trees are green in the summer and in the winter. I think it's you know, something that I want to do. So
I was going to back up real quick. You had mentioned that, excuse me, that the trophy Jeep is almost done being put back together, new motor. I was going to ask is, like, with the trophy Jeep, that thing's been an evolution. Like, it keeps continuing to improve and grow, and you change things here and there. Like, do you think you'll ever be, like, satisfied with, like, man, what else can I do to this thing? It works great. Do you think it's always an evolution of continuing to tweak on it, or do you think you'll get to a point where I don't think I can do anything else to this thing to make it better? It is what it is. It's great.
So for me, I'm a big fan of the trophy Jeep. I love it. It's a mid-engine, all-wheel drive vehicle. You know, Currie Enterprise built the front end in it. We do have a very unique front differential in it that my dad had built for myself. He's an innovator. We don't sell it. It's totally on lockdown, and we are for sure the only ones that run it. And that is the kind of stuff that I feel that we're learning a lot from that, and being able to put that into Jeeps, being able to put that into other off-road applications. And, you know, for me, we're using the trophy Jeep for a tool to learn to better our products here at Currie Enterprises. We're, you know, doing the same thing with KMC wheels, right? We're running a forged wheel with a high offset on a 40-inch tall Nitto tire. And with that, like, you know, for all those things to be able to handle 1,000 miles of Baja, you know, and 300 miles of the King of the Hammers, it's pretty unbelievable. And I'd say we're never done tuning. We're never done testing. But I would say that I have an idea in my head for what's next. I know that we're pretty much to the point where we're fine-tuning the motor, the converter, the gear ratio, to maximizing that. But I think the next thing for us would be to build a new car. I have ideas for a car that I want to build that's going to replicate more of a new trophy truck, but basically be able to run in the rocks. I feel that Ultra 4 drivers, you know, they all build very similar rigs. There's not a lot of differences out there, but there's a couple of rigs that are gnarly in left field as far as being super different. And for myself, I feel that I'd like to build something closer to what now is becoming a standard trophy truck. We'll see with everything going on. You know, I'd probably say it wouldn't be for another 2 years. But the trophy Jeep's so much fun to drive. You know, it's 850 horsepower. I mean, it weighs, I think, probably right around 6,000 pounds. I don't know. It can handle Baja. And, you know, for me, if it can handle Baja and not break apart or fall apart, like, the durability, the thing is pretty unbelievable.
Do you get surprised how competitive or, like, how close the trophy Jeep kind of matches up against a trophy truck, right? Like,
I mean, like on the longer races was crazy, and obviously, you know, the on the long, like Ball 1000, we finished in the top 20 overall. Top 20 overall twice, starting in the hundreds. So we passed over 80 cars. And yeah, like, what's crazy is, like, dude, what's unbelievable is that some of the whoop sections is that you're going and then you realize you're doing 80 miles an hour on top of the whoops in San Felipe, and you're like, man, that's crazy. Like, this thing is, the potential is unbelievable. I would say that I'm definitely not as fast as the new trophy trucks, but I'd say long-term, you know, longevity and durability, we're getting that thing to be able to run at a good pace for a long period of time, and I think that it shows. Last year we beat all the Class 1 cars, I think, all the Class 10 cars, and then all but one 6100. So, and it was good. This year we were even doing better, and then we had a problem at the very 2 miles from the finish, and that ruined our whole day.
Well, with those results, like in Baja and finishing that well, you know, against all the other classes, is that what kind of prompted you to want to race the trophy Jeep in the trophy truck class at the Hammers?
So yeah, basically, well, technically, the Hammers, yeah. So here's what happened to the Hammers. Technically, I was super disappointed and heartbroken on my qualifying run. I totally myself, not the crew, not the car. On my qualifying loop for the King of the Hammers race, for the Ultra 4 race, I came around and put the brakes on, and the car basically, the way I apexed the corner, entering the rocks, the car bottomed out right at the time there was a rock, and it basically picked the front end up and stood it on the back end, like whatever, almost flipped over. I didn't think it was that bad. But anyway.
Do we have a clip of that? Can we get that up?
I thought it, whatever. So anyways, I was super bummed. And when I got done, I was like disgusted. I was like, I'm so disappointed in myself for letting myself down and blowing that. Like, I should never have made that happen. Whatever. It's racing, things happen. But just, I let myself down. So I was like, you know what? Like, the Trophy Jeep was just bare framed. It's basic. After the Ball 1000, we framed it, sandblasted it. Everything's brand new. It's ready to go. I'm like, okay, so the Hammers is 250 miles, and this race is 400. I'm like, all right, it's a little bit more than the 1,000, or a little bit more than the 500. I'm like, and we get to do a mediocre prep on it because we'll have, 5 hours of time to work on it. So I was like, all right, we're gonna race it, and I was like, it's just time. I feel that I'm like, it's the only opportunity that I have that I can actually go out. And my thing was like, they give you that 20-mile qualifying, and we don't get that in the Ultra 4. They don't do a 20-mile qualifier. They give us this 1-mile sprint, and it's all you have. And there's no whoops. And it's kind of like a short course, and, it's a Hail Mary thing, right? Anybody can kind of Hail Mary it for 2 miles and put that together. And, like, I'm one of them, right? I went full send for 2 miles, and I totally blew it and threw it away. And for myself, I was like, oh, this could be a cool chance for me to get the opportunity to go out, and for 20 miles, I'll push it as hard as I can and actually see where we stand up. And that didn't work out.
How many miles is the qualifying loop for the regular race? Hammers race.
It's like, I think it's at a mile, or 1 or 2 miles total. Yeah. So, and it's a sprint. I mean, it's up a rock hill, down a rock hill, and then you have to do like a rock waterfall. And I mean, it's hard, but it's not. I mean, it's nothing like King of the Hammers hard.
Yeah.
It's just you got to pick the right line to be fast. So I mean, the good guy's always up front anyway. So I feel that I like qualifying for the Hammers that way. I think it's fun. It's adrenaline rush, but I also like the fact that the Hammers guys got to go out there and literally 20 miles driving crazy speeds, and it's like, oof, that would be fun to get to do. So, but for myself, I ended up making it 1 mile, and when I hit super hard on qualifying, I actually broke the transfer case. Didn't know it, and made it 1 mile, and the T case broke out of it. So pretty much the most expensive King of the Hammers week of my life. So
yeah, that one's a tough one.
Yeah, not the best, but it's still a blast. I love the Hammers. I love everything about it. I think having the trophy trucks there, I think it's a lot of fun. I love seeing, the Bryces, the BJs, Andy, Luke, all those guys out there. I mean, it's cool seeing the best guys in America, in California, getting to race, and with all the live stream, you get to see so much of it that it's like, man, those trophy trucks are so capable and so fast. It's like, it's pretty amazing to get to see it and actually be, being able to watch it. I'm still a super fan of the sport. I love watching all the trucks go and pushing hard.
What are your thoughts about, with the Dakar and its, 12 days of racing with 1 day off? That style of racing, road books, not getting to pre-run. You kind of, we can talk about Baja in a little bit, but do you enjoy one over the other, Baja over like Dakar, or is it's all a challenge, so it's fun, or like if you had your choice, which one would you do first?
Yeah, I would say as a driver, I'd say King of the Hammers is fun. It's challenging.
That's your jam.
But it's it's 1 day. No matter what, for me, I live in California. I'm spoiled rotten on that aspect. I'm an hour and a half from the Hammers on a bad day. On Friday, when my car lost an engine, broke a valve in half, titanium valve, best you can buy, broke in half, went through the whole motor, did a lot of damage. I was pretty disappointed and bummed on myself and just the whole results. And I was home 2 hours later. From the time the thing broke, my chase crew was there in 30 minutes, had me on a strap. We went back, and I was home 2 hours later. So in Dakar, you're 18 hours of flights alone away. So when you're there, it's an 18-hour flight. Then once the race starts, there's only 2 major airports. You go very far away from all airports. So it's like, okay, if you break or have a terrible time in Dakar, let's say forget winning, you have a bad time. Okay, now you're going to drive for 2 days probably to get to a major airport. Now you got to book a flight. Then you got to get on the airplane, fly for roughly 20 to 24 hours with layovers. Then you're going to get in LAX and still drive another hour and a half home. And it's like all that. So it's like, man, that aspect of it, it's like, it's so much to be there and and all the focus, right? 12 days of focusing on something and not making a single mistake, right? Every day counts for the next. There's no gimmies. There's no, it happened. I'll get it up next time. There's no other, like one thing that I realized in King of the Hammers, everything. Well, Hammers is a little different for most people, but there's no basically of all the events are tied to focusing on Dakar, right? People get ready for the King of the Hammers to do the King of the Hammers, but then they're getting ready for, the San Felipe race, the Crandon race. There's 5 other events to do. In rally, it's all about Dakar. As soon as you go to the next race, it's like, all right, what are we planning and strategizing to get better for Dakar 2021? Where were our weaknesses? What are we going to do to get better for Dakar? So every race that I did in 2019, right? I went to Morocco. I went to Abu Dhabi. We did not do Sonora, but we tested down there. All that was focused only on Dakar 2021.
You're basically starting the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, kind of like NASCAR, I guess, where they
the Cup, same style deal. That type of deal is super gnarly, right? Like when we race a trophy Jeep, we go to 1,000. We go to 1,000 like it is our Super Bowl, but we go to the 500, it is like a Super Bowl. I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm always trying to better myself in the trophy Jeep, but it's not like Dakar where it's like every event you go to, you're talking Dakar every night for, you're talking Dakar. Even in Abu Dhabi, when it was 120 degrees every day, it was pure sand. But it's like, all right, just so everyone knows, we're 100 miles away. If you look in the sand dunes, if they run it in this region, we're going to be in the same style sand. It's going to be colder outside, so the sand will be harder. So we need to work on setups for a harder sand, but the way the sand blows, you'll be in the same area. We don't know where we're going, but we know the region. So you're taking all that into effect of going like, all right, how are we going to set our clutches up? How are we going to set our ECUs up? Spring rates, all that. Like everywhere you go in the world, the sand is different, and all that testing and stuff like that, it all plays into effect for the car. So like when we do all that stuff, we're doing all that. But when we go to the 500, I mean, we're going to win and not. We take what we had failures or problems in Baja 500, but we don't. It's not like focusing for the 1,000.
Yeah, it's crazy too because the Baja's Baja, so a lot of the terrain that you're racing at, either on San Felipe or the 500 or the Ensenada 400, like it's all pretty much the same terrain. So,
yeah, the thing about Baja is like, and this is where I would say that I'm at a disadvantage. Sure, I'm a bigger team, but a disadvantage for me in Baja is that I don't have a Wazoo pre-runner. I did have one. I got rid of it, but I don't have a Wazoo pre-runner. I really don't have a lot of time to go spend 2 weeks down in Mexico pre-running, getting ready for the races. And now the speeds, like in the trophy truck 6100 Class 1, dude, they're going so fast. But the reason they're going so fast is a lot of the top guys are spending a couple weeks down in Baja. So the notes they're taking and the things that they're doing in the pre-runner is getting it to the point where when the race starts, it's not like, all right, you need to call it every note because they don't know. It's like, hey, just remind me. I already know that I'm going to go wide open right here. I know that I'm going to check up. I know that I'm going to put the brakes on. You need to take that and say, all right, hey, just remind me in the middle there's a rock on inside or, rock on the outside, or, hey, come here, make sure there's 5 lines. We pre-ran all 5, stay to the far right or stay to the far left or stay in the middle. That's the kind of things that, you do. Well, you go to Dakar, guess what? You have nothing. There is nothing that you're going to be like, all right, so-and-so pre-ran more. No, He's never been here. You've never been here. None of the competitors have been here. Well, how do we set up our car? Guess what? Now it comes down to the team and the driver to sit there and say, all right, well, the sanctioning body gave us like a little teaser of like, you're going to get 15% sand dunes, 20% hard packed dirt, 20% sand, you're going to have 10% rock, and they break it all down. And you got to look at that piece of paper, which, dude, to me, they were way off on the numbers because we had way more rocks than
Yeah.
the paper said. But with all that, you're looking, going, all right, here we go. All right, today we're gonna run. Like me as a driver, I'm very, very into setup on my car. I'm high maintenance. I can feel everything in the seat of my pants, or in this, in my butt. I can feel vibration, harmonics, and my thing is like, all right, here we go. So on days like rock days, let's run higher tire pressures and less spring rate, and let's open up the valving to get the tires to float more. And I think that was part of my struggle on the first couple of days. Not enough. I was obviously still leading the rally overall, but I felt that I left a bunch on the table, which we're going to, test this year to get better for next year. But with all that being said, I feel that'll comes to like in Baja, there's a lot of like, oh, I already know where I'm going to go. I know that I can go wide open over that ridge. In Dakar, that ridge right there, it could be a 200-foot waterfall, cliff, no road, no nothing, and you can drive straight off it because they don't even do arrows there. There's no caution. There's no nothing. You literally have to drive what you can see. So sure, you can go wide open off that, and if it happens, you're going to be in big trouble. So, and with that, like I would say, man, it's definitely a different ball game.
So do you like that element of surprise a little bit more? Is it kind of fun to, with the Dakar, like not knowing, like you said, down in Baja, we've driven those roads a ton. Like for the most part, we remember, there's a rock here. Like even when we were pre-running, I remember this section. We'll start talking about previous races and stuff and what happened during the race. I think every time we go through Ojos, you always tell me where you got a flat tire and fell off the side of the cliff and what Oren was doing. But is that element of surprise with Dakar, like the unknown every day, is that more exciting and more enticing?
I feel that it's more exciting for me because I feel that it truly comes down to the driver. Like there is no like, I out pre-running you, so I knew the cheater lines and the shortcuts and the faster lines. Like I feel that it comes down to really understanding like how fast you can drive with what you can see. Mind you, anybody out there has any questions, comments, anything that they want to know about what we got going on in my race program, shoot me a message, write it on the screen. We'll answer all questions at the end. And honestly, this is our first of many, and we want anything we're going to put on the table. We got a lot of time. We're not racing right now. We're not going to any events, so we're gonna bring this. This is the first one. Just to take a little break here. This is our first. I want to give you guys a shop tour. Give you guys a tour of Currie Enterprises. Give a little bit more behind the scenes of what I do on a day-to-day in the shop, at my race shop. Right now we are in the conference room. I am in the process of moving, but I'd love to give you guys more. So if there's things that you guys want to see, you want to get a little behind the scenes, shoot us a comment and we'll get back to you. So now back to Baja. Yeah, man, I'm a fan of both, but I do love the challenges of Dakar.
What's some of your favorite things about pre-running?
What I love about pre-running, there's two different things. We go down there to be serious. Obviously, you ride in the car, and I like certain things to be called out. We know that when it gets dusty, that's when everything changes because pre-run, oh, man, I know this section pretty good. And this, we've had this problem. We obviously learned how to fix it is when you're in Baja and you're like, oh, man, we've pre-run it 3 times. The notes are good. They're spot on for when it's crystal clear. All of a sudden, boom, there's a car in front of you. You're chasing them down. It's super dusty, and now the notes are like, hey, you're early, but, I didn't know that was a problem. It's like, well, now that I can't see the corner, you can't call it out 200 yards in this corner and then 500 yards in the next because now I'm only going off what you're telling me. I'm driving blind as a bat. I'll drive wide open right into a cliff if you're going to tell me that.
True story. I forget what year it was, but in pre-running, like we're just having a good time doing our thing. Well, the race comes and we're in dust, and first thing Casey says when we go off the line is, strategy-wise, if we get into dust, we'll just have to take our time and pick our battles. And right as we get into dust, we're not even into the race a few miles, and we're in dust, and he starts yelling at me like, "Where am I going?" And I'm like, "Bud, we didn't take notes. Like we're driving blind right now." Like, that was kind of hairy.
Yeah, but we got through it, and once again, you guys all want to know something pretty unique about racing. Aaron's been riding with me for 4 years, and how many tires have you changed?
0.
Oh man, We've had some phenomenal luck, and I feel that running the right tire at all the events we've run is that everything with the Trophy Jeep, all the pre-running we've done, and we have not had a flat tire at any of those events. Now, knock on wood, because technically anything can happen, but we have been very blessed with the Trophy Jeep with the Nitto tires. You know, they do a phenomenal job of, I mean, honestly, we don't even change. At the 1,000, we run the same 4 tires
the entire race.
The entire race. We don't even change them out. People are like, no way, you got it. It's like, honestly, they hold together. The compound they run, which is softer than most tires out there because of the hammer stuff, but the technology they have to keep the lug together. Now, we really get no ripping of lugs. We don't get any shredding of tires. And, man, it's pretty impressive to sit there and go, we've raced all those miles on basically the same 4 tires at every event.
Yeah, not to even have a single issue. Like, that's, for me, I don't like being out of the race truck during the race. I want to be in my seat, buckled in nice and
cozy.
Tight. I do not want to be outside the race car, and that's kind of one of our long-term jokes, right? Like, I've never had to change a tire, and you're always like, oh, you're going to have to change it under a minute.
That's right.
Like, that is my fear, having to get out of the race truck and do that. But no, we've had some really good luck.
Yeah, we really have. So, no. Yeah, I don't know. Something about Baja. But now, one of the new adventures this year is going to be Vegas to Reno. So, no pre-running allowed. I think you're allowed to drive some of the roads, but no pre-running. And we're going to go, and I think that's going to be fun for us. My thing is to go push hard. We'll probably have to start middle of the pack, which means dust, a lot of rocks, a lot of flat tires for a lot of people, and try to hold that together.
We don't get a pre-run for the Mint either.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
I don't know. That doesn't bother me. I don't know. There's just something about the sketchiness of that could come out of Mexico that pre-running is. And I think I've raced it twice. I raced 1,000 twice, not pre-running, not with you.
Yeah.
Back in 2012, I got to do the wide open Baja.
Yeah. Oh, so much fun.
I got to do that, and then I raced in a side by side with Mark Burnett one year. My brother co-drove for me, and we didn't get to go down to pre-run. I think my grandfather had passed away that year, so we didn't go down to pre-run. So going and racing and not seeing the course prior to is gnarly. I don't like that at all.
No. There's too many like ridges and sketchy roads, and then if you break, you're alone in Baja, and I don't know why, but it seems like all you do is race at nighttime.
All the time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a new challenge. So I think that'll be a fun race. I'm debating doing the Nora 1000. I don't know why, but I feel that would be just fun. Every day it's staged race, similar to Dakar. No pre-running allowed, and it's like 250 miles a day, and that would be just a lot of fun to get there and do. Another thing that I want to do this year that Dave Cole's doing with San Felipe got canceled for the Ultra 4 race, so they're not even doing it at all. But this year, instead of racing, he's inviting a bunch of people down in October or November to go to San Felipe and basically take race cars, take pre-runners, take Can-Ams or UTVs, and take Jeeps and stuff, and actually just go down and burn some trails in, which that's something that's, if you think of it, it's pretty unique. Like, most of the time we got to drive on the same roads because basically the same guys marking the course no matter where you go, and there's not a lot of time to go look at new roads and figure out where else you're going to go. And to go to San Felipe, it's such a wide open area, and it's beautiful. And in the wintertime, it's a little hot in the summer there, but in the wintertime, I mean, there's so many crazy cool valleys, and there's a lot of rocks. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to go down there and try to put together some new trails, make it more like the King of the Hammers, where I think they can find some rock trails. Like, obviously now that we're not just going there and racing and them building a course the week before and putting stakes in the ground and all that stuff, like, now they can put a bunch of stuff on the GPS, go home, look at it all, and tie it together. And, come 2021, when we get to race there again, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to get the opportunity to go and explore some of those canyons.
That should be pretty sweet. So he's going to just invite everyone down. It's kind of like would it be like everyone's kind of on their own and can go and
I think he's going to make it
play some trails?
I think he's going to do where he'll set areas where he's like, all right, everybody, we're going to go look at this hill, or this area we should go into and check out. And I think the goal is to basically make it where it cover a lot of ground with, different groups of
Come
people.
up with some new ideas from
Yeah.
new trails.
I think it's a killer idea. I mean, basically, it's what they do at the Hammers. At the Hammers every year, it seems like they get 1 or 2 new trails that are just totally nasty, off the beaten path trails that drive me nuts. Every time I love the challenge, but man, some of the stuff he puts us through are freaking gnarly, especially in the Can-Am. Like, you're literally sitting there going like, man, I don't, okay, are you sure? Like, okay, well, let me put my locker on here. We're going to go wide open up this hill. And
If it's not a little sketchy, where's the fun in that if it's too easy?
Yeah. As soon as the helmet goes on, the adrenaline rush. See, the hard part's pre-running. I'd rather do the Hammers with no pre-running.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think if they did no pre-running, it'd make, I think, just like in Baja, I think King of the Hammers is getting torn up by all these people driving on it. I think if they did not put any course markings up and did nothing and ran it off of GPS only, I think the rocks would be better. I think there'd be more challenges where the challenges are supposed to be, and the good areas would be good the whole time. Like this year at Chocolate Thunder. One day, drive right up it. Next day, move rocks, can't even drive in it at all. You got to winch it. Next day, made it where you could drive through it with the winch.
That one's kind of an anomaly because everyone goes to Chocolate Thunder at night and just wreaks havoc. So the next day for the race, whatever happened that night previous is what it is. Whereas the other rock canyons, that's not how that goes.
I don't know. We'll see. Whatever he does, it does. I'd like to do it where no pre-running. You get a course note. You should get a deal on your GPS the night before the race. Everyone loaded in. Everyone has it. And maybe we'll throw some cautions on there, but hey, maybe not. And then everyone, to me, I think it would make the race more even because now you get the guys that now no one knows what's over the other side. And I love that technical side of racing. I love the fact that sure, we can all pre-run. I'm up for it. If we're all going to pre-run, we're going to go. But if not, I don't know. I like the fact of I love the Hammers for the challenge, but I also think that if you didn't pre-run, I think that's when you would see more. I think you'd see more talent. I don't know if it'd be me, but I think there'd be a lot of new talent up front if there wasn't pre-running. I think there's guys I think the guys that have won the Hammers every year deserve it, and I think those are the guys that probably pre-run less because I also feel that they're the guys that are true King of the Hammers winners are the guys that could take a rock buggy right now, go up to one of those trails, analyze it, and get their way through it. But I also feel that there's some guys in the middle that do very well just because they drove it 10 times and they, got through and they knew every shortcut, every little area. And it's I think you took that away from them. There would be some random guys that I feel.
I guess specifically regarding the Hammers, the pre-running, I think, well, for me, for example, I'd never really done Hammers that much. I'd never really been out in a lot of the rock canyons. But so for me to be able to go out and pre-run like we have the last couple of years, just getting comfortable being in those situations was very helpful. I think if you took some of that pre-running away for Hammers specifically, it's intimidating, man. I've heard people oh man, I don't see how you guys do it. I would never want to try it. So I guess the pre-running for Hammers allows some of them to get out their jitters about it, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I would say, I mean, that definitely helps. I mean, I'm even one. They're top of Wrecking Ball, the waterfall up there gets me every year. God, every year makes me nervous. Sledgehammer makes me nervous. The crack on sledge is gnarly to me. Backdoor, I never pre-run that. I Hail Mary that every year. I know where I need to go. I know my line. Every single year, all right, I know where I got to go. I'm just going to if we're going to drive up it, I know I have a plan. If we drive down it, I know I'm just going to drive off it. Hold it to the floor.
But then, pre-running, we're talking about Baja. we always talk about that. That's our favorite thing about Baja.
Yeah, I know.
Go down
I agree.
And pre-run.
But coming to the Jeep side of me, I love driving Jeeps. I think I've built some very unique, cool Jeeps. Right, my JL is on Fox 3.0 coilovers. It's got 60s front rear. It's got all long arm suspension, and it's got spare tire, satellite.
All the bells and whistles.
Everything.
Thing is kitted.
It just makes Baja fun. And whether we're pre-running or not, I love those times for driving my Jeep because it does work really well down there. But I also like the time in Baja, just like we never got to with pre-running, is my dad comes and he'll bring his buddy or a buddy and he'll drive his Jeep. And then we'll have, my uncle will show up with his Jeep, and, we'll have another buddy just come and want to pre-run. And, like, it's like a trip, and it's an adventure because something always goes wrong and something always happens and somebody almost crashed. And we get so much out of that. Like, those stories are, like, the best times because, like, that's what we live for. I live for that thrill of, like, what's going to happen over the next rise, right? And, forget racing, but, like, when I'm going to Moab or going to the Rubicon or going jeeping anywhere around the country, like that's why when I get to pre-run there, it's like you get to go and it's like, all right, here we go. We're going to go do Pritchett Canyon and Moab. And it's like every year somebody almost rolls it. Every year somebody does roll it. Every year there's that one crazy problem. Like, all right, I don't want to do it. All right, here we go. As soon as you get behind the driver wheel, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Okay, I want to do it. I want to do it. I love those challenges, but I like to do them with my friends. We got a lot of friends in the industry. I love being at places with all of our friends and getting ourselves in bad spots, and there's always somebody that's going to make a mistake. And, I love the teasing and the heckling and having that fun time. And, like, whether we're jeeping in Baja or jeeping in Moab, something's always going to happen. Hopefully not to me. But I love for it to be a group of people, and that's, one thing with the Jeep community, man, there's a lot of good groups out there, whether you're just passionate about Jeeping and you're part of a Jeep club, which I have a lot of friends in different Jeep clubs. And then, then you got the industry guys that hang out together, and they have the East Coast clique and the West Coast clique. And then the people that kind of do all the events together. And for me, like on the racing side and, growing up being more neutral because I wasn't a part of Currie, man, I feel like I got a lot of friends in a lot of areas. And like, I love going out and exploring different areas and exploring new terrain and getting myself into situations that aren't always the best, right? One of my goals, I want to drive a Jeep from California all the way down to the, bottom of South America. I want to go as far as you can and see it all, drive through mainland Mexico, go down. I want to see basically how much and how far we can go. Cause I feel that a lot, obviously we know how to overland. I got all the overland equipment, but I feel that a lot of overlanders start at the top of their Jeep, right? They get the rooftop tent, or the Toyotas. They start at the rooftop tent, and then they start upgrading down. For us, like, obviously we built our Jeeps to go to Baja and travel long distances, and then at the same time go to Moab and do the gnarliest terrain you can find. And I would love to go South America and see if we can find some crazy, crazy trails and explore them and see how far we can go and get the winches involved and get, go out there and have to go mudding and cutting trees down and getting ourselves through some crazy valleys. Like, I'd love to do that.
That'd be gnarly. That'd be a long ride.
Yeah. So there's people doing it now, but there's like roads from like here up to let me rephrase it. There's ways that you can go dirt road, like from, I think, Arizona or Texas all the way to Canada. So basically from Mexico to Canada, all dirt roads. Like, that'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to sit there and try that and see how much trouble we can get in, but do it all in the United States and have fun doing it. I think that would be a lot of fun. Another thing that actually, like, talking about adventures, that, I built a 67 Camaro, LSX 454. My goal is to, twin turbo it. I want to go to Bonneville. I want to drift it. I want to go and, I want to race, do Ken Block's Gymkhana Grid. But my thing with that is, like, we were going to do the Hot Rod Power Tour this year. That was one. They just postponed it, so now I don't know if it's going to actually happen. But I want to drive across country in a Camaro. Windows down, cruising. Dude, I'm putting a Rockford stereo system in it right now. I got air conditioning in it.
When did that all start? You being Mr. Off-Road guy, and now all of a sudden you got a 67 Camaro.
So I've always...
Squirrel.
Yeah. I've always been passionate about... I feel like I'm they always say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I feel that I have a lot of similarities to my dad and both my uncles in the hobbies that I have. I feel that, my dad loves to go fast. racing off-road. That's his jam. He's always been an off-road racer. I think that's where I got my racing skills from. My dad is my right-hand man. I take all my racing ideas off of him. But when it comes to Jeeping and that exploring portion of Jeeps, my Uncle John does a phenomenal job. He's a fantastic driver. When it comes to King of the Hammers, I use him as my mentor at the Hammers. He pre-runs with me. He's very good at picking lines out. And like for him and I've raced the Hammers probably 7 times. We've gone out. I finished second twice at the King of the Hammers. And both those times and all the other times, like he's the guy that I work with to like bounce ideas off. Hey, how should I do this? And he visualizes rocks very similar to the way I do. And so when I have him as a mentor for that, and using my dad on my off-road racing stuff and my Dakar stuff. But I have my Uncle Charlie as well. He is like totally passionate about cars. He's got some of the most crazy car builds. He's got some beautiful Chevelles that are, spectacular. We actually just did a bunch of YouTube videos on them on Currie Enterprises YouTube, but he's got the car collection. And then when you look at that, like I look at my grandpa and I'm like, dude, my grandpa was all 3 of them. Like when from the time I was born, my grandpa retired from Currie Enterprises the year I was born. And like I'm the first 3rd generation of Currie. And dude, I was like my grandpa's right-hand man. I'm very blessed. I lived on the same street as all my cousins and my grandpa. So I grew up, dude, my dad's house, one house above it was my Uncle Charlie, one house above it was my Uncle John, one house above that was my grandpa. And dude, my grandpa, when he retired, he built this big garage, and he has like crazy car collection. But my grandpa did all of it. He loved racing. He did all the racing stuff in the desert. But he also loved rock crawling. He had Wazoo Jeeps. I actually just bought off my uncles. I actually bought off my uncle and my dad and them. I bought my grandpa's last Jeep he ever built. And it was at the river. My grandpa had a house at the river. We all have a place at the river that my grandpa bought my parents when they were younger. And dude, I bought it because I'm like, dude, he built a Jeep that it was built 20 years ago now. And it's like, to this day, it fits in. He had the look and the feeling.
That the one with the V8
Yeah,
in
the
it?
V8. It's got V8. It's got like an AEV lowering kit on it. It's on 37s. The thing is just super sick. And I was like, I'm not letting that Jeep go. So I ended up buying it. But he had that passion for Jeeping. And like, I feel that just like my Uncle John, like, dude, my grandpa, my grandpa was my uncle's spotter, and they worked together and went Jeeping together. And when I turned like 16 years old and I would go, like my grandpa's thing with Currie Enterprises, he'd go to all the shows. Man, he's drinking Jägermeister and going out and having a total blast at all the events and being the guy at Currie Enterprises. If people have questions, he built Jeeps. If they had questions on cars, he had cars. He built a Bonneville car to go 200 miles an hour. And he had all kinds of 32 hot rods and everything that you thought was cool, he had one. And like, when I look at that, like, yeah, dude, he had like a little bit of all 3 of them. And I'm like, man, I feel that going the opposite way, I feel that I had that passion of like, I love Jeeping. I really love Jeeping. I've done it my whole life. I own 5 Jeeps right now, and I absolutely love it. And then I got the racing passion from my dad. Obviously, I raced a trophy Jeep. I raced Can-Ams. I've raced everything. I love going fast. I love the speed aspect. But at the same time, I've never lost that feeling for wanting to build badass cars. Not a lot of people know it, but I own a 63 Cadillac. And then I actually bought my grandpa's first car he built when he retired. I was 3 years old, and he built a 34 sedan. And I just took possession of that from my Uncle John. So part of the split of our company, like I ended up getting the 34. So I own a Cadillac, I own a 34, and I love classic cars. My only thing that I want to do, I'd love to build another hot rod. I'm a big fan of 34. I like the nose on it. I like the way the grill tapers to the floor. I'm a big fan of sedans. I want a 5-window. I know exactly what I'm going to build when I can build it. And the reason I built a 67 Camaro was when I was doing my research. First, my dad owns a 65 Ford Mustang GT 350. Beautiful car. Grandpa built it. So he owns that. And I was like, well, I'm gonna own the same exact car my dad does. I was like, man, I probably should build something a little bit better. That way, my dad will up his game and do something better as well. So I was like, you know what? I'll build a Camaro. I love the look of them. Never been a big Chevy guy, but I'm a true fan of the power. I think that Chevy does the best job with crate motors. I bought an LSX4. You could buy an LSX 454 out of a catalog and throw it in your car and plug and play. Like, there's not a lot of Fords that can do that. And for myself, I feel that the Camaro 67 is lighter than a 69. I wanted to be a light car. I wanted to be able to race it and be nimble. And so I found a 67. Started calling around, and a buddy of mine knew a guy in New York that wanted to sell a car, and worked out a deal with him, got the car. It was, all the work he had done to it was fantastic. And then basically we bare framed it and started over.
So you brought that out to, we had you out to Fontana NASCAR in March.
Yep.
And you came and did some donuts and stuff in that. So is it done? Is it still a work in progress? Or where are you at with it?
I think hot rods and muscle cars are always a work in progress. So it's totally, we basically framed it. It's got a mini tub in the back. It's got Detroit Speed front suspension, Detroit Speed rear suspension, Currie 9-inch in the back. It's got an LSX 454. It's got a five-speed sequential transmission in it. We did air condition in it. Right now, it's getting ready to get a stereo system put in it. It's all original interior, but it's got a roll cage in it. I'm going to cut the cage out of it. I don't like the look of the cage, so we're going to cut that all out of it. I ripped all the wiring out of it, and I did Motec wiring in it. So it's got a Motec dash, Motec keypad. Everything in it is like full race car, but at the same time, it's got all the comforts. So I'm not done with it. It's got Rytec shocks that are made by Fox, and that's the next step. Because of the whole coronavirus, I kind of lost the mojo with being able to go testing. So as soon as we're allowed to go to Willow Springs, I'm going to spend a day with Rytec and really get my suspension dialed in. I don't know anything about road racing. I know nothing about it. Like never been a car guy at all. And now I'm learning about what size tires to run, what size wheels to run, what size brakes to run. Spring rates on a car are totally different. It's got 5 inches of travel. And so I'm ready to learn. I feel that I know nothing. I'll be the first one to admit it, but I know how I want the car to feel. And I got, with Rytec and the guys at Detroit Speed, I think I'm going to be able to get enough information to make that car a lot of fun.
That'd be sweet. Kyle, real quick, do we have any questions that we wanted to get to yet, or?
Yeah. So Zero Cool Dan on YouTube wants to know if you've ever thought about entering Gymkhana Grid.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's,
it was never really announced. So we were working on getting Grid here in the U.S., and that's still in the works until everything's a moving target right now until all this stuff is done with the coronavirus and where we're even at with live events. But
let's just say that if there is a Gymkhana Grid somewhere in the world in 2020, I'll be there for sure. The car will be ready for Gymkhana. I'm not going to win it. I already learned about it. You got to have a super small, nimble car, big power, but I want to go just to have fun on that course. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to go drive with Ken and all those guys.
And then he also wants to know if you're ever going to go to Goodwood Festival of Speed again.
So I've never been to Goodwood. My brother actually went for me. I had to get home to race, but yes, I want to go to Goodwood. I didn't have the right car for the. I got invited to go back the year after. I just didn't have the right car.
Was it Goodwood or was it Gapville? What's the other one?
I went to Gapville, but Goodwood is it's more of a formal event. I just couldn't make it. I had too much on the plate. But I'd like to go back. I think my Camaro would be fun there, and I'd also think the Trophy Jeep would be fun there. I'd like to do more stuff with the Trophy Jeep.
Being that that's a UK event, you want to give us a brief explanation of what Goodwood and Gapville are?
Yeah, well, Gapville is basically they take a road race, the most beautiful road race track I've pretty much ever been to. It's right outside of Norway, and then but basically what you do is you get to go 10 cars at a time. You can go out there and you can road race it, drift it, however you want to drive They just give you the track. As long as you don't drive on the grass, you can basically do whatever you want. And
Just to go play? Is it a competition?
it's just play.
Is it
They
all
literally
play?
all it is open. And then, but at the same time, it's a festival. Like 50,000 people, concerts at night, the craziest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Like gnarly festival. Like 50,000 people to concerts, unreal. And then there's car event, and all these people watch all day. It's cool. And then because there's no racing, there's no downtime. There's just cars driving all day long. It's pretty unreal.
You just get back in the queue and you can keep doing
Yep.
laps.
You just go as much as you want. And then Goodwood is the Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's basically some guy's house that he built it's his driveway. I've never been, but what they do, they bring all these race cars from around the world and all these exotic cars from around the world, and they basically run them up this hill. It's not all about being speed. A lot of it's prestige. And like for me, from what I've seen is that, a lot of it is basically, first it's big money, and a lot of it's these beautiful cars that don't get driven anywhere else in the world, and they fly them in for this one event. On top of that, there's a lot of people that come from around the world to be hosted, by the Goodwood family, and really to partake in this big festival. It's pretty unbelievable. They had like an off-road track. They bring Dakar cars, Formula One cars, NASCARs. It's pretty wild. So they had a lot of fun. My brother had a blast. So one day I'll go back.
So Zero Cool Down actually works with Bagsy. He's been 3 times. So our boy Bagsy.
Nice. Yeah, Bagsy's he does
and
all
then,
that stuff.
Will Goldie wants to know, what was your first car?
My first car, my first car actually was a Ford F-150 that I was going to build I wanted to build a pre-runner out of a single cab F-150, 1995, and ended up cutting it way too far apart and got way too excited. Man, not a lot has changed. And then I had to drive a Ford Ranger, single cab, short bed, no air conditioning, roll-up windows, pleather, with like 200,000 miles, 4-cylinder stick shift. That was my first car until I got the F-150 running, which then I ended up never making street legal, and drove that until I got a Cherokee.
And then Kristen Klein on Facebook wants to know, where is your favorite place to drive?
My favorite place to drive, I would say, I really enjoy the Rubicon. I'd say with the Rubicon, I love camping. I love the Jeepers Jamboree. It's a super fun event. The terrain up there it's difficult, but not too difficult. If you own a Jeep on 35s and have walkers, you can get through it. So it's challenging, but not over challenging. But it's beautiful up there, and there's no cell phone service. There's trees, there's hiking, there's waterfalls, there's lakes to swim in. That fun. But I'd say for the challenge, like Moab, Utah, has everything from buggy trails to moderate trails for Jeeps, and it's beautiful up there. I think the Red Rocks are fascinating. You can go exploring in so many areas, but be at your hotel in under an hour, and that is fun. It's a 14-hour drive for us, so we don't get up there often, but I absolutely love the area, and I think the people up there are super friendly and nice, and I love that community. There is no big city there, so the city that is there, it's welcoming. The food, there's a lot of like smaller restaurants, which I'm all about supporting. I love that feeling of Moab. So, all right. Well, I just got told we are out of time. So, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. Anyone, please message us. Let us know. We're going to get more into depth of the shop, of the racing. I want to show you guys more of Currie Enterprises. We got a lot of cool stuff going on here. And I want to show you guys more of my Jeep builds that we have going on. I got some new builds that are almost done and getting on the floor. So once we're moved into the new facility, which is going to be the next couple days, I'll get you guys a tour and we'll check it all. Thank you guys so much. Driving Line, thank you guys. Nitto, we are excited to be here.